Think you need a ton of money to get started in real estate investing? Well, think again. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can get into real estate and buy your first deal with very little to no money down. So even if you're broke, and stick around because I'm also going to share with you real life examples of how I would do it if I were starting all over and had no money to spend. All right. So before you call BS on me, I do want to say this, that even though you don't have to have a lot of money, that doesn't mean that you don't have to have a lot of effort or a lot of skill or a lot of knowledge. So there's other qualities that you're going to bring to the table that will make this possible. So it's not without effort and it's not without some ups and downs and some failures along the way, but real estate is still a game where you can get into buying properties and holding properties even with little money coming out of your own pocket. This is an industry where you can use other people's money. You can leverage your effort and you can leverage your knowledge and different skill sets to get into real estate investing. So let's get started with step one. All right, so let's get into strategy one. Now, this is the one that I used when I got into real estate, and it's the one that most people start off with. It's wholesaling. One of the reasons people love wholesaling so much is you can literally take a piece of paper, a contract, and if I get that house under contract, I can go and I can shop that and sell that contract sometimes for $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. I mean, really kind of depends on the deal that you get. And so you can wholesale and make a lot of money out of really nothing. Let's just say you spent $100 for bandit signs or cardboard signs, or $5 for a marker that you were writing, "I'll buy your house." Whatever the case is, no matter how much you spend, you can turn the cost of this pen into $5,000. I was just interviewing a real estate investor the other day who he was working at his W-2 job, and what he did was he just put up a big sign at his grandmother's house on the side of her house, and people would drive by, and he started getting deals just from a sign that he put on the side of a house. All he had to do was buy the cardboard to put up and write his phone number and "I buy houses" or whatever he put up there. So this is a story I hear repeated over and over and over again, and it's the easiest way that people get into real estate is through wholesaling, because not only do you not have to have a lot of money, but it's just super low risk, because what you're doing is you're taking this contract, you're getting a property under contract, and you're essentially selling that contract. And you are, in a lot of cases, you don't have to actually close on the deal. Now, I do want to say something here, because wholesaling can sometimes have a really bad reputation because people abuse wholesaling. They put properties under a contract. They're not honest with the person who's selling the contract. They're out shopping at trying to sell it. And then if they don't sell it, they say, "Oh, well," and they just cancel the contract. And the right way to do it is at least have this conversation with people. This is what we used to do. We used to say, hey, if we weren't going to actually buy and take down the property, we would speak with the seller and say, "Listen, we don't think we want to own this property. So what we'd like to do is we would like to sell this contract to an investor that we know, if you'd allow us to do that." So we were always very transparent with the people that we were putting houses under contract with. So you just have to be careful. There's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. My friend Adam also started doing this. Now, he started with little money down. It was like all he had to do was buy some bandit signs, so some cardboard, and he was writing, and then he was going out in the middle of the night and putting those up around town, and people were calling him. And then he got into other things. He started actually spending money after he got some deals under his belt. And so I believe that wholesaling, if it's done the right way, is still an incredible way to start in real estate with very little to no money down. I mean, you could really hustle if you wanted to. Now, again, what is this really going to take? It's going to take effort. It's going to take hustle. I mean, you can't be a wholesaler if you're not willing to hustle. You can't be a wholesaler if you're not willing to put in some effort. And guess what? The people that I know that have been the best at this, and even in my own experiences, you just can't give up. It's just something that you have to keep doing over and over and over again. And even in changing markets, there's still people who need to sell their property at a discount. There's still people who are in some type of situation that they need to sell, whether they've inherited the property or whether the property is completely trashed for whatever reason. It could be a landlord that owns that property and they're just tired of fixing it up. There's all kinds of reasons. And so when you think about wholesaling, you also have to think about, I'm doing a service for this person who needs to sell at a deep discount. And so if it's obviously you're not going to get it under contract if the need isn't there, but wholesaling is a great way if you can hustle, if you can put in the effort, the sweat equity. You can do it with almost no money down whatsoever. Now, you do have to do some research to understand what houses are worth and what you should be asking, what you could sell it for. So there is a bit of homework involved in that, but wholesaling to me is probably the first thing that I would do if I was totally broke, didn't have any money, and I needed to get into real estate. All right, let's get into strategy number 2. This is one I love. I've used it. I've seen a lot of people do it, and it's simply partnerships. Now, what makes partnerships so great is it's a win-win. If you have somebody who has money and you have time, ability, and you can put in the effort or the elbow grease, guess what? You can make a beautiful partnership. I've seen this work a couple of different ways that I'll share with you. Number one here is I've just seen a 50-50 split. Now, what that means is, let's just take this friend of mine who's done this a lot. My friend Bruce, he's gone out and he's found the property, and then he's looking to his buddy to fund the property. And that's the way it works. One person provides the money for the purchase and the rehab, and the other person, in my instance, a good friend of mine, Bruce, he's out there actually doing all the work. He is rehabbing it. He's managing the contractors. He's doing all of it. And then at the end, when they sell that property, they're flipping properties. Guess what? They're splitting those profits 50-50. So that's one way I've seen it. Another way I've seen it is it's not really a 50-50 split. I've got a friend who does this. I've even talked to him about, you know what, you could probably make a little bit more money if you did this, but he's like, no, I like this. And so my friend is what I would call the money man, and he has $100,000 in an account, and he has an investor friend that just needs that money to either purchase properties or rehab properties. And all he wants is, when he's cutting him a check, when he's giving him money, he wants a preferred return. So whatever percentage rate they've agreed upon, this is how much it's going to be. So he doesn't charge any points, which is what I was telling him. You should charge points, which is a percent of the total deal value, of 1% of it, but he doesn't charge any points. He just loans out his money and he's happy getting a return. He said, otherwise they're going to sit there in a money market account. And this guy goes, he rehabs it, all that. And so he takes the profit minus the interest. And that's a great deal for that real estate investor. Like, this person does really, really well. So partnership, and there's other ways that you can work this. Let me give you a pro tip. I heard from my friend Adam how he finds private lenders and he finds people to partner with. If he needs that, what he does is he just starts telling people what he's doing. And he'll say, yeah, you know what I do? If he's at the doctor or whatever, because these are usually professional people. They're physicians, attorneys, financial advisors, whatever. If he was at the doctor, he's like, yeah, you know, I flip houses. I flip 50 houses a year or whatever. And one of the things that I do is people come to me and they have money. If they want to get it into real estate and they want to get a return, a preferred return, and then I help them do that by buying real estate. So he's just telling somebody what he does. And then guess what he says? Inevitably, if this person has money and is interested in real estate, what do? They say, hey, well, I'd be interested in being one of those people. And this is how he finds great partners. So Partnerships work. It's a great way. Again, I think what you need to do is be prepared before you go and speak with this person and you want to get money from them. You better know what you're talking about. I would probably lay out some deals like, hey, if I were able to get this property at this price, this is exactly what the rehab number would be. This is what I would be doing. This is what our profit would be. And this is how much money you would get. Hypothetical, you're not promising anything, but you're saying, here are the types of deals. If you've not ever done a deal, this is what I do. If you have done a deal, then put some effort into showing exactly what happened. I have a friend who's done this. He actually put together 20, 30 PDFs of deals he's done because he wanted to go out and find more money. And so he was just able to show people, here's the deal, here's the deal, here's the deal. He showed them everything that went into it, the money, the rehab, and then even with interest, holding cost, utilities, everything, all the expenses, he showed them this is exactly how much we were able to make, and I was able to pay my partner. And when he started doing that, guess what? People were like, count me in, I want to do it. You've shown some expertise. So if you had that expertise, show it. If you don't, I would suggest doing some mock-ups of what could be. All right, let's move on to the third way, and that is hard money. Now, different hard money lenders require different things. This is just the way it is. I was talking to a hard money lender the other day, and he essentially said there's kind of 3 tiers of lending out there. First, you have your friends and family. This would be like the partnerships I spoke about, where people are just somewhat unsophisticated, but they have limited resources. He said you could go borrow money from them. He said next tier is like a professional hard money lender, which he says that's what I am. And I've got the ability to fund a whole bunch, but we also have processes in place. We're making sure that the deal is good. And then you have more like nationwide hard money lenders. That would be like Lending One, and Kiava, I think, is another one. And so those are the big ones, and they're going to require you to jump through a lot more hoops. Now, hard money, I like the middle tier, what my friend Dan is. I like what Dan does because Dan is a real estate investor. He owns 300 paid for rentals. Like, he owns all these rentals. He's seen thousands of deals. He currently manages around 3,000 properties in Memphis and Jackson, Mississippi. He knows what he's talking about. So if you were to come to a hard money lender like Dan and say, I've got this incredible deal, would you fund it? If the deal really is incredible, he will fund it. And guess how much money you have to come out of your pocket? Zero. All you had to do was find the deal. And if you found the deal, you wouldn't have to come with a down payment or anything. And the way he likes to look at it is he's saying, and some of these others are saying, if you are 70% to 75% of ARV. Now, ARV is after repair value. So if your property is valued at $150,000, if it was all fixed up, it's worth $150,000. If you're able to be all in, which means the purchase price, the rehab of that property, if you're able to be all in between like 70 and 75, guess what? He's going to give you 100% financing. He's going to give you money to purchase, and he's going to give you money to rehab. And as a matter of fact, what he will do and what some other hard money lenders will do is they'll roll up the points into the deal so you're not coming out of pocket. You're just like financing that whole thing so that when you do sell the property, if you're buying it, fixing it up, and flipping it, when you sell the property, you're going to pay him all that money, right? Or if you're buying it and holding it for long-term rental, then what you're going to do is you're going to refinance him out, because this right here, his money is good for 6 months. And that's typical in the hard money space. You've got 6 months to buy this property, fix it up, and figure out your exit strategy. And that exit strategy may be holding it long-term. If so, then you're going to go ahead and get bank financing. You're going to go to the bank and say, hey, this is what I've got. I've got a property worth 150. I've got 100 in it. Would you loan me money? And absolutely a bank will do that because it's going to be secured by that asset. So this is a beautiful way to do it. If you can find the property, now remember, you can do that through even bandit signs or simple ways. You can drive for what we call like drive for dollars. You're driving in neighborhoods, you're writing letters. I mean, I've known many people that have bought houses in their own neighborhood just by seeing something that looks older, peeling rotten wood or peeling paint, and they write the owner, and all of a sudden they're buying the house. So as long as you can find it, you can get this property financed with little to zero money down. That's the beautiful thing about hard money. So those are the three ways we've talked about. Wholesaling is the way I see a lot of people get into it. You probably don't want to dive right into rehabbing properties and flipping properties. I think wholesaling is a great way to do it. Then we also have what we talked about is partnerships. There are always people out there, friends and family, who are probably willing to loan money because they want to get into real estate. You've got the time, the effort, etc. And then lastly, there's hard money. These people do it professionally. They do it for a fee. It's going to cost more money. It's going to be 12%, 13%. Kind of depends on what the mortgage rates are, but they're always going to be higher, and then they're always usually going to have points to that. So it's a little bit more professional, but it's ready. As many deals as you can find, you can have them financed. They're not going to run out of money. Those are the three main strategies that you can get into real estate with really little to almost no money down, even if you're broke. Now, what I want to do is I want to talk to you about how I would do it today, just practical, simple steps that anybody can do to start out doing this if you've got little to no experience. So the first thing I would do is I would do a ton of research. I would look at Zillow. I'd look at all kinds of Redfin. I would look at all kind of data. I would read about markets. If I found a market that I was really interested in, I would deep dive into that market, even if it's in your own backyard, find out everything I could about real estate investing. I would start joining Facebook groups. I would go to RIA meetings, this real estate investor associations. Those RIA meetings happen in almost every mid-sized to large city. If they're a large city, like if you're in Atlanta, you're going to have probably 10 to 20 RIA meetings or RIA groups that are meeting at all different times. So I would learn as much as I could. Like, you have to understand what you're doing, because when you're buying real estate, you're going to make your money on that buy. And so if you're not doing research, you don't really understand the market and understand the nuances in those markets, because it could be sometimes they're street to street, neighborhood to neighborhood, zip code to zip code. And you have to pay attention to what you're doing. So that would be step number one. After I had done all my research and I kind of understood the market, next, I would, if I were going to start with wholesaling, this is what I would do. I would start building a buyer's list. Now, really great professional real estate investors who are wholesaling, they have what's called a dispositions person, manager, or whatever. This person, all they're responsible for doing is selling deals. So just imagine, I just spoke with a real estate investor the other day. He's doing 70 deals a year. If he was wholesaling 50 of those, man, you've got to figure out a way to sell 50 houses. Like, that's a lot. That's 4 or 5 a month. You're selling houses. And so you need to build a buyer's list. These are going to be other real estate investors, which, by the way, these real estate investors are not only great for selling properties too, but you just learn from them. You just learn from these real estate investors. The great thing is also you can bring them deals and say, hey, is this a deal? I'm thinking about buying this property. What do you think about it? Don't be so worried about somebody stealing your deal. Just, if you've got the person's contact information, you feel pretty decent about it, ask them, is this a deal? Would you buy it at this? What's going to happen is they're going to give you some really great advice, and they're going to say, you know what, you're about to put that under contract at 60. I can tell you, no local investor is going to pay you 65 for that. They want to be in it no more than 55. And so that would let you know that what your offer needs to be. If you want to make $5,000, you need to go back to the seller and say, I'm able to pay you $50,000. That's all I can pay you, because you're going to make a little bit of money on that. And so research is first, build a buyer's list. That's the second thing I would do. Third thing really is just pick your strategy. You've already heard me say, I started out with wholesaling. I think wholesaling is a great way to get into it, to understand it. As a matter of fact, whoever you wholesale that property to, if it's in your local town, you can follow that all the way through to completion. You can even talk to the investor you sell it to and say, hey, do you mind if I learn from you as you take this property, rehab it, either rent it or sell it or whatever they're going to do with it? 100%. You just need to pick a strategy, but I love wholesaling because you can kind of follow it all the way through to completion if you want to and learn a lot. Like if your goal is to get into flipping, maybe you have a 12-month goal that you want to be in flipping in 12 months, then you need to spend 12 months finding deals to wholesale and then following them through so you understand the process and what it's going to take and what's going to happen. All right, now the fourth thing you need to do is take action. Now, how often do you need to take action? Every single day. I've seen so many people just get analysis by paralysis. They're scared of making an offer. They're scared of putting themselves out there. They're scared of talking to friends and family about it. I get it. You just have to take action. Like you just have to be committed. And this kind of goes back to me. If you don't understand your why you're doing it, if you don't understand your why, then you're not going to be really motivated to actually go out there and take a lot of action. You're going to be like, you can take it or leave it. There's a huge difference. What I've seen in people is there's a huge difference between people who are committed to something and people who are just like interested in something. So if you're just interested in real estate, then guess what? All of this is probably not going to do you much good because you look at it and you go, well, it's a lot of effort. I want something easier. But if your why is strong enough and you're committed, then people who are committed, they say things like, I'm going to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to be successful. And that's what they do. That's what you see the best do. And so you have to take action every single day. This is not something that happens over a short period of time. This is something that happens over a long period of time. And there's ups, there's downs, there's making money. Sometimes there's losing money. It's just the name of the game, but it's action over a long period of time. Keep your consistency, be committed to what you're doing. But that's absolutely the fourth thing that you must do. And then number 5, what I think would be great if you did this is just document your journey. I like documenting the way you go about it, your successes, your failures. You will be able to help somebody else one day. When you see a young investor come into a room, somebody who's brand new, and they're asking, well, hey, do you know anybody that I could learn from? You may be that person. You may want to be the person that's saying, hey, let me help you. I'll mentor you. Even in our market, when I got into the business early on in 2003, there was a couple of people here in the market that were offering to guide brand new investors. Now, it was going to cost money. I didn't do that. I bought a franchise instead. And so I did invest money in my own learning. I just bought a franchise and I learned their entire system. But if you document your journey, guess what? You're going to learn a ton. You're going to be able to go back and see, hey, I made this mistake. I don't want to make that again. But then really it's to help other people. You're going to be able to help other people do this. And it'll be really, really satisfying to you once you become more successful and have some great information to share. So it is true, you can get started in real estate with little to no money down, or even if you're broke, you can get into real estate. I promise you that. Now, the key is, what are you going to do? What are you going to build to? And the way I like to think about it is a lot of people want to become a millionaire. And so there's a way to do that. There's a process to do that. And so if you're interested in that, like how to use real estate to become a millionaire, go ahead and watch this video right here.